So in this energy that we're heading into towards the solstice again, okay? And when I need to let you know, this is where you're going to feel elements of time condensing and contracting and pushing some of the change that needs to take place. You may feel as though you're leaping on this moving target sometimes, because sometimes it just feels like that. Like as soon as you grasp something, something else moves, and it reminds me of the fun house at the carnival where like the floor is moving and you're just like, whoa, leap over here, leap over here. And yet your ability to become more adept at swiftly adjusting to change, not in a hasty way where you're being foolish, but in a sensible way where you're using your senses and your practicality and your sensibility. And the paradox is that in order to do that, sometimes you might have to pause a little bit. Now, there are natural changes that are being pushed here so that you know, in a way, people follow suit. You know, the natural world, what you could say the cosmic force of the universe is pushing changes to take place, but not all of it is negative. A lot of it is going to be positive, and people will feel more comfortable at a different pace. When you work with your twin flame body, that's going to enable you to actually feel like there's more with actually less. And that's where it gets kind of like a paradox again, because you may feel that you can do well with less food or, you know, less of a large group, but more of a smaller, intimate group of people that like you and appreciate you and y'all enjoy each other's company. You may find that as your family relationships adjust, that even that gets better and that you wind up enjoying each other or desiring to have get-togethers and things like that. Your gifts and abilities are not out of reach like they may have felt at one time, but there's two things here at work. There's the paying attention to small things and small parts of you, as well as being enveloped in a larger energy that helps you cohabit in a level where not everyone is in that level. And that's going to be an amazing thing for a lot of people to still see that there's people helping you or people in systems that you're going to be well aware of, like they haven't really awakened. They may only be partially vibrating at a higher rate. You'll still need them. You know, they may be people that, you know, based on what you do for a living, you need their help. It may be things that you can't really pinpoint, but you just sense. So using your senses and not being, there's another thing to do too, but I think some of this is going to feel so natural, it will feel a little bit like live and let live, okay? That maybe people just aren't where you are or aware of certain things, but it's okay. And you really don't care one way or another because you're in charge of you. And it feels more natural like that because you actually don't have to put on your cape anymore and go. We've reached that culmination point where the tipping point is here, the pivot point, the tipping point, the, you know, bringing some things full circle, being able to close the door on the past is really effective. So what are some of the key things to know about this? There is going to be efforts made to balance things, balance of power. And I don't mean balance of power and corruption. I mean the true balance of power where the powers that we have and the powers that be actually are doing good things with the resources that are available, and that it benefits more people. And also people are able to shift out of their old, you know, places where they were pegged in and maybe stuck for a long time. And this is going to further change systems. Like we can see some of it with religious systems. They're needing to change and they need to roll with the times because they can't go backwards. That's just one example. Education is another example. So those are the larger scale things that this second retrograde, the Saturn retrograde, is helping to put into place, because the energy goes by the need. Like what's needed, how is it needed? Is it needed to be a balance of something? Things will be very rapidly expanding for people. So some people will feel the potentials of things. They'll feel like, ooh, this is my opportunity to do this or try that or something. In this downtime, it's really kind of wild because a lot of people might normally use that time. And again, the paradox is going to be, don't give up on it. Still use time or make time even if things open up sufficiently. Don't be hasty. Okay, do things without procrastinating as you need to, but don't do it in a sloppy way just out of haste, like, oh, I better slap all this together. Don't do that. If you're not sure, take a moment with yourself, but with the intention that you'll get it done fairly rapidly. What else? Skills, your skill sets, feeling more refined. There is a refinement process going on for people where what you may have sensed or gifts and abilities that you've been aware of in the past can actually feel like they've somehow been honed or refined. Some of that has happened, what I call off planet. It's happened in another place, not really another timeline, but a purpose for this time. Releasing things. You're going to be releasing things big time. There's all kinds of things that are just going to tumble away, but with the things that you value coming closer to you. And that's going to be more specific for you. It really won't be vague. Now, you're at this point where part of the fear that people have, this fear, two things, fear of the unknown and fear that the shoe's going to drop again. You can't really slip down into a hole. But what might happen with you if you don't do anything is that there you are just bobbing in the water, crying your eyes out for no apparent reason because some part of you is not thriving. But you really won't fall into a hole. You will continue to release so that you can level up. And that's where it gets weird, and that's where you need extra help, because this is a cosmic level clearing. There are things happening so that your cosmic connections are within reach. And by being within reach, it means you have to integrate those properly. This is also where we're clearing the realm between what once was, which includes ancient timelines. That's going to include times that time has forgotten except for a few fleeting memories. Some of those memories have been depicted through fantasy work, where people are fantastical, or they write things like science fiction, or they write fantasy fiction, or they depict it on a film. It's going to include forms that don't really exist anymore except as part of the package of your twin flame body. Those forms will be opened up at the proper time, in the proper environment, in the proper planet, at the proper level, which is 5D, not here on Earth. So as this breaks down for people, the difference between the fantasy and the depression and the mental emotional breakdowns, the things that people see with the old vision system, that is, it's like watching a film of past lives. You saw this, you saw that, you saw that. You catch glimpses of it, and with those glimpses comes the emotional content, the memories that are in your cells, but yet those are sloughing off and they're being archived for a time where it is purposeful. It will not serve a purpose, for example, in a workplace. You're not going to be able to draw upon it at every given turn, simply so that you can function and properly be present and take care of your responsibilities. Your first responsibility being to yourself, paying attention to what you need to create, because nobody's going to come along and invent your life for you. You're in a time frame of reinvention with this massive closure taking place, which is closing off timelines from 20 years ago for some people. You're going to clip off people that you were never intended to be with also. You're going to like have some memories, but some of those memories will sort of end right there in favor of what really belongs to you. So if they have taken something from you in one of those timelines, you'll receive it back and there will be closure. You won't be able to be held bound to them. So your sense of bondage, being held hostage, being trapped, being stagnant, being stuck, this will lift up, and it's a very uplifting feeling where it feels like suddenly some of your energy and your oomph and your inner drive starts up. Now that's part of the paradox, is that in many ways the electric masculine energy has had that drive throughout the past 100 years to push, to make more, to build, to set it up. And you see this with the Industrial Revolution. You see this with the invention of certain technology, machinery, devices, with the ability to make this available for more of the masses than not, so that it's not so much of the haves and the have-nots. It's not perfect, but there are things in place now that have helped to automate things for people, so that people will have the time for their ascension process, have the time to enjoy the being that they truly are, and come back into the natural state of their being in a lower density that they're capable of. Now, naturally, this, what you're able to integrate here at this level, it's still not going to be like the 5D. Even if people feel like they're pulling 5D down here, that is not how it works. You and your other half have to open up your shared connections so that you're going up into it. And that's the only way it's happening. It's happening with couples, and increasing the vibration of love, increasing your ability to draw through the love to your physical bodies, that then excites and enlivens your cells so that you vibrate higher and higher until you go. There's many things that people will experience around you where they feel stuck, and there will be times you can help them, and there will be times where you realize that they must go through it. Your other half has to go through some things too. You may help with a percentage of it. This may cause problems at work for some people, where it's challenging to function or go through ascension symptoms at the same time that you're, trying to work and be present. It's going to show up. And so, what else with some of the things people can experience? If you're experiencing mild bouts of depression, you have to pay attention to that, because that can lead to exhaustion. And there are things underlying that from your past lives that do need to be addressed and purged properly, so that you not only purge, you do it in a rather rapid manner. You're very efficient about it, and that you're able to not only build up but maintain. So over the next part, you're going to have to focus on maintaining what you've gained. And maintaining what you've gained means that you have to make it a new life. You have to, put a new structure into place, because there's literally a new structure connecting to your body. And so, there may be confusion out there about that, where people can feel things being, put down or pressed onto them. And yet, if they're not doing anything with it, it really doesn't operate properly. And I know this from my own personal experience. I know this from teaching and helping people with it over the past several years, because it did start for some people a couple of years ago. Now it's going to gear up for many more people. And this has to be where the body is a focus, and there's a gradual process of getting yourself healthier, well, maintaining that, doing some things new, continuing to ditch the past, continuing to make yourself new. And you're bringing in your ability to properly reinvent yourself with any turn of the wheel. That's evolution in the making. So you're both a creator and you're an evolutionist, meaning that as you create, you let it evolve and you evolve with it, and you push the evolving. You have to let things unfold, because the way it may look initially may be different a year later. Being held in a temporary state of restriction really will get uncomfortable for a lot of people. So there will be a plateau, and yet with that, there has to be a genuine focus on health and well-being. Being healthy to the degree that you're able to be, and if you have children, to help them also, that's going to be vitally important, because otherwise you have your brand new structure on something that is not a solid foundation. So that's why it's a gradual process, so that the inner part of you, so inner work means getting your light body expanded from within, opening your channels, breathing your essence in deeply in a certain way, because there are key connection points, releasing through key connection points as well, and keeping it moving so that it is not only your second nature, it's you. It's the natural you. It's the natural higher version of you that you're able to be. So thank you